the most famous prisons around the world.
Although prison is one of those places that none of us would ever want to see in person, it is still an interesting place.
What few people realize is that the world's prisons also struggle with financial challenges, such as meeting food and maintenance costs. Many of them last for years serving as prisons, but some others have been renovated and now serve as tourist attractions. Due to inmate overpopulation, modern prisons are looking for more efficient ways to solve their human and economic problems. And while it is true that the horrible reputation of many of its residents sometimes surpasses that of the places, the prisons are still fascinating in their own right.
Numero 1. ADX Florence Supermax Facility USA. Number of inmates 344, the safest in the world.
ADX Florence Supermax Facility is not just any prison. As its name indicates, it is a super maximum security prison and inmates are monitored 24 hours a day.
The tenants of this place are not people you want to leave unattended. Located in Colorado, ADX Florence Supermax Facility has a reputation for being one of the toughest prisons, as it has held several of the most notorious and evil inmates in the world within its walls, which is why the inmates detained there remain 23 hours in solitary confinement. In short, this is the most secure prison in the world.
Number 2. Basto, Norway. Number of inmates 155, the most beautiful prison in the world. The last thing that comes to mind when we think of prison is a paradise island in Norway, but surprisingly it exists and it is called Bastøy.
In this minimum security prison, inmates lead relatively normal lives while they serve their sentences. The prison is located south of Oslo and is the least similar to a prison that we can imagine.
In Bastøy there are no cells.
The inmates are dedicated to caring for animals and farming, but they also have recreational facilities to play soccer, tennis, and even a gym and a library.
Number 3. Diyarbakir Prison, Turkey. Number of inmates 1432, the cruelest prison in the world. If there is something famous about prisons, it is the people imprisoned in them, but unfortunately the Diyarbakir prison is famous more for its jailers than for its inmates. With a long and sad history of inhumane practices, this prison was feared by everyone as a place you would never want to enter. But this is a thing of the past.
Diyarbakir prison will close its doors and be converted into a museum.
The terrible events that took place behind its walls will serve as a reminder of what should not be, and the restoration of the premises will lead to a new era for this infamous prison.
Number 4 in Janstad, Greenland. Number of inmates 76, the most luxurious in the world. On your next trip to Greenland you should be very careful not to accidentally try to book a room in Janstad, since due to its elegant and luxurious interiors and exteriors it can be mistaken for a hotel, when in reality it is a prison. In this prison, some inmates are even allowed to go out to work and return to the prison to sleep.
Janstad is located in Nuuk, Greenland, and has 76 cells, of which only 40 are for maximum security prisoners, meaning they cannot leave the facility. But this shouldn't cost them much work either, since inside the prison there are exercise spaces, a library and a church, all beautifully built. Number 5 Rapa Nui Island Penitentiary, Chile. Number of inmates 10, the smallest prison in America. Besides having huge heads, we are not sure why they are there. Easter Island also has a prison. Located 3,700 kilometers from the caldera, in Hangaroa, the capital of Rapa Nui, Chile. In this small penitentiary you will not only find inmates, but also souvenirs to remember your time in the paradisiacal place. The prison, considered the smallest and most remote in America, only has 10 inmates who spend part of their time working making crafts, which leaves them a little money, in addition to spending their free time playing and living with each other. The inmates also have a pet, a stray cat named Roberto. Number 6. Los Angeles County Jail, United States. Number of inmates 19,836, the largest prison in the United States. Sunny California is one of everyone's favorite vacation and shopping spots, but it's also home to the largest prison in the United States. The Los Angeles County Jail,
which despite its size, has had problems due to the number of inmates, as well as other abuse scandals.
Los Angeles County has a staggering $798 million budget for its jail system, but even with this staggering amount of money, the jails continue to struggle. This is to be expected, given that the Los Angeles County Jail is almost twice the size of the state of Delaware. Number 7 Santa Margarita Island and Yves France Island, tourist attraction, prison of historical importance. If you are a fan of history, literature or cinema, these two famous prisons will make you jump with excitement. The island of St. Margaret and the island of Yves, although they no longer serve as a prison, continue to have great importance as historical and literary references, since the two islands are now tourist attractions and are ideal places to visit. On the island of St. Margaret, specifically in Fort Royal, one of the most famous prisoners in all of France was imprisoned. The Man in the Iron Mask, and on the island of Yves, you can feel like a romantic hero or heroine, remembering Edmond Dantes from the famous work The Count of Monte Cristo. Number 8 Karasta Prison, Liepaja, Latvia tourist attraction. A prison that was impregnable. If you have always wanted to know what it feels like to be in prison, but fortunately you have never wanted to commit a crime, Karasta Prison should be in your plans for your next vacation. In the beginning, the building was intended to be a hospital, but it ended up being a prison and is now a tourist attraction that provides an unforgettable experience. Karasta Prison was built in 1900 and was active until 1997 and boasts that no prisoner was ever able to escape from it. For some years now, the former prison has served as a tourist attraction where visitors can live the complete experience eating and sleeping as inmates used to do in other times. Number 9. Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
Number of inmates:
36. The most controversial prison in the world. One of the most famous prisons in the world, Guantanamo Bay, was established after the horrific attacks on the Twin Towers in 2001. It is also the most problematic prison in the world due to multiple controversies over the treatment of prisoners, among other things. Only 36 of the approximately 780 detainees remain in prison facilities. Numerous organizations have denounced the treatment inside the prison, including the UN and Amnesty International. Without a doubt, Guantanamo Bay is the most controversial prison that exists. Number 10.
Robben, South Africa. Famous prisoner, Nelson Mandela.
Robben Island, located in Mesa Bay off the coast of South Africa, housed many inmates while it was open, beginning in 1961 until 1991, when it stopped serving as a prison for political prisoners, and in 1996, when it closed its doors. Definitely. But the most famous of its prisoners was none other than Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, Nobel Peace Prize winner and former president of South Africa, who is one of the most important figures of the 20th century, was imprisoned in Robben Prison for 18 of the 27 years he spent in prison. The prison is now a museum with symbolic importance, representative of the memory and change of the South African nation. Number 11 Devil's Island, France. Famous prisoners Alfred Dreyfus and Henri Charrier. Near the coast of French Guiana we can find Devil's Island, where a penitentiary center was located. From 1852 to 1938, the inhabitants of the island were prisoners. More than 80,000 prisoners passed through the island, although many did not leave it due to the terrible conditions in which they lived. Among the prisoners who passed through Devil's Island, we can find the soldier Alfred Dreyfus and the writer Henri Charrier. The latter wrote about the island in his book Papillon, where he describes his wonderful escape using a bag of coconuts to survive the terrible currents that made it thought impossible to escape from the prison of Devil's Island. Number 12 San Quentin, United States. Number of inmates 3,082. The oldest prison in California, San Quentin State Prison, located in Marin County, California, is the oldest in the state, as well as the most dangerous. Its reputation comes from the fact that many of the most dangerous and violent characters are held within its walls. San Quentin Prison is also the only one in the state of California to have both a death row and an execution chamber. It was founded in 1852, making it the oldest in California. It is also famous since a Johnny Cash concert was recorded in its facilities. Number 13. Ciudad de Barrios Prison, El Salvador. Number of inmates, 2,500. La Mara Salvatrucha Prison. The Ciudad de Barrios prison is famous for being the place where exclusively members of the Mara Salvatrucha gang are held. Originally built to maintain a population of 800, the prison has approximately 2,500 behind bars, and with one guard for every 50 prisoners, it is difficult for the administration to maintain control. Behind the walls of this prison, the inmates seem to have more control than the guards. This is why this prison is also considered one of the most violent in the world. Prisoners do business within the prison and organize among themselves to cover their basic needs. Today, the famous terrorism confinement center was inaugurated. This institution is carried out by the President of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, under his promise of territorial control and war against gangs, to put aside the insecurity of his country, becoming under the detection of thousands of gang members as a result of your plan in one of the safest countries in the world. Number 14. Tower of London, England. Tourist attraction that is haunted. No trip to London is complete without a visit to the Tower of London, now called Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress, one of the most famous prisons in history that is now a tourist spot that fascinates all its visitors. Several famous figures were imprisoned in the Tower of London, such as Thomas More and Anne Boleyn. In addition to its historical preponderance, the Tower of London is also said to be haunted. This is one of the reasons why tourists from all over the world visit it. There are many stories about ghost sightings. Some claim to have seen the specter of Anna Boleyn. Number 15. Leben Justice Center, Austria. Number of inmates 205. The most luxurious prison in Austria. None of us would like to be in prison, but the Leben Justice Center for a second makes us want, if not to serve a sentence, at least spend a few nights within its luxurious walls. It was designed by architect Joseph Hohenson and completed in November 2004. The Leben Justice Center is certainly one of the most beautiful prisons in the world. In addition to having everything necessary to make the inmates stay comfortable, it has a gym and basketball court. The cells, if we can call them that, have a balcony, desk and television. Number 16. New Mexico Penitentiary, United States. Number of inmates, 790. To highlight the 1980 riot. The New Mexico Penitentiary in southern Santa Fe County is made up of 3 facilities. Level 5, Level 6 and Level 2. And Level 6, which is super maximum security and where the death row is located. Despite all the security that exists in the prison, the New Mexico Penitentiary was the site of the most violent prison riot in the United States, which occurred in 1980, in which inmates took over the facility and took 12 guards prisoner. Number 17. Nara Prison, Japan. Tourist attraction, the oldest prison in Japan. Nara Prison, the oldest in Japan, was built in 1901 and opened as a juvenile prison in 1909. It closed in 2017, and since then it has become a busy tourist place where you can see what prison was like. Prison life in ancient Japan. But this former prison will soon attract tourists for a different reason, as it will be converted into a luxury hotel. Run by the Hoshino Resorts hotel chain, the Nara prison will be renovated to make way for a place from which we surely will not want to escape. Number 18. Attica Correctional Center, United States. Number of inmates, 2253. The most violent prison in New York. It's not all glamour in the Big Apple. The dark side of New York can be seen in its maximum security penitentiary located in Attica. This prison has been home to many of America's worst criminals, so it is no surprise that it is considered one of the most violent prisons. One of the most violent episodes in the history of Attica Correctional Facility took place in 1971, when there was a riot inside the prison during which prisoners took 42 staff members hostage. The riot ended 4 days later. Number 19. Butyrka Prison, Russia. Number of inmates 2,000, noteworthy. The most overcrowded in Russia, Moscow's largest remand prison, Buturka Prison, built in 1879, is a place we would definitely never want to be. Despite its size, this prison has a serious overcrowding problem with cells designed for 10 people that, however, somehow manage to house 100. In this prison there is a major health problem due to overpopulation that leads to the proliferation of many diseases. The Buturka prison, which has been in operation for more than 200 years, has also been home to famous figures such as Nobel laureate Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Number 20. HDN Prison. Acronym for House of Detention for Men, Rikers Island. Number of inmates, 5,558.
558.
To highlight, the most dangerous in the world. Rikers Island, located between Queens and the Bronx in New York, is considered the most dangerous prison in the world since it is not only a prison, it also serves as a mental institution, resulting in approximately 40% of inmates suffering from problems. Mental. The prison has a budget of $860 million annually, and the annual cost of maintaining an inmate to New York City is approximately $556,539. The chaos at Rikers Prison has led the New York City Council to vote to close it by 2026.
26.
Friends of the channel, this part of the video ends here. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I cordially invite you to subscribe to my channel 26. Share with your friends on social networks and comment. Activate the notification bell so you don't miss the other parts of this interesting video. See you soon.